Oh, hey, you coming out to the bar with us? Oh, yeah, I don't drink, but I'm totally down to play some pool and eat some food. Yeah, I'll come hang out. Okay, sick. I'm gonna go warm up the car. Oh, it's actually pretty warm today. Didn't you know? Why are you dressed like that? Oh, I like to be prepared for the worst, so I'm dressed for a snowstorm. A snowstorm? It's like 50 degrees. What are you talking about? Yeah, but like, what if it happens? That'd be really bad. Do you understand what freezing temperatures are? I need to know that you understand that. This is something that's taught to you in like the 3rd grade. Yeah, but like, what if there's a surprise snowstorm? You gotta prepare for the worst, man. Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna stay home. Dude, it's really hot in this getup. Can I take it off already? Yeah, get out of there, man. Sweet Jesus, I was melting. Holy moly. Anything for the bit, dude. Unironically, though, it was super hot in that getup. That was awful. I'm never doing a bit like that again. But hi, guys. Welcome to today's video. Today is another commentary video. Today was the planned video I was going to put out at the beginning of this week, talking about the phase 2 of the update. If you guys watched my last rant video, I decided to talk about something else and put out that video instead. But now this is the video I originally planned, talking about the phase 2 changes, because people have a lot of very, very strong feelings and opinions about it, and I want to weigh in because I don't know, that's just what I do. So yeah, let's go ahead and weigh in. So if you look at the actual like phase 2 image, the promotional image they put out to kind of advertise what's coming here in the latter half of 2025, there's a lot of very, very concerning things, especially for the killer main community, that a lot of people are extremely worried about, this being the anti-slugging, anti-tunneling, and strangely enough, the anti-camping. It's making a return for changes, which is interesting, but we'll get to that. Mainly, the one people seem to be worried about is the anti-tunneling one, and there's a lot of people that are very like dooming gloomy and very, very scared about this. So let's go ahead and tackle these. First off, with the anti-slugging, which is something people are worried about as well, especially if you're like an Oni or a Twins main, where like most of your main kit, you know, focuses around a slug play style. I think the things I would be worried about in terms of an anti-slug mechanic would be the base kit unbreakable that they tried to weasel in when they first tried to implement like the base kit Mori and the anti-slug mechanic. If you guys don't know, a while ago they actually tried to test the base kit Mori that we have now in a different form, but they also introduced base kit unbreakable, which was just kind of awful because you couldn't slug for any amount of time because people would just get right back up, and it encouraged the top 3 or 5 killers in the game to just 4-man slug right away just so they can insta-Mori everybody. Obviously that was not great, and those changes did not come through. So that's how we eventually ended up with the base kit Cypress, which is a healthy version of that. I feel like they're trying to come back around and find what is the healthy version of that for the slug thing that didn't work out earlier. Keep in mind, they are implementing some of this in phase 1 with the surrender option when you're all slugged out on the floor. I still think that the ideal situation or solution, the ideal solution to this situation is just to be able to bleed yourself out after a couple of minutes, because slugging is not bad. Slugging is not terrible. Slugging is just an opportunistic way for the killer to gain more pressure. That's not bad. Yeah, slugging just isn't bad, but being 4-man slugged on the floor for 4 whole minutes is absolutely terrible. And if I DC, I'm the bad guy. I get a DC penalty, which is crazy. There's like no way out of that situation. So I think being able to just bleed yourself out quicker after a certain amount of timer on the ground, that is clearly nobody has unbreakable, clearly nobody's getting up, clearly nobody's making a last minute play. That way we can just move the game to the next match. And one of the things that is lovely about this is queue times. We always want to improve queue times. I'm looking at you, 2v8. Thank you for ruining queue times again. Yeah, I'm one of those people that didn't vote for 2v8 just because I like having queue times be good. But if you're able to, like, 2 minutes into a slug, even like a minute, I don't think would be too terrible, but we'd have to test that in a PTB. You can just say, okay, well, I guess I'm just not getting picked up, I'm out of here. Then queue times are going to be better because that's going to be more players in the pool for queuing. So overall, that will improve queue times overall, which is something we always like. So I still think this is the route to go. And I'm wondering, I don't know, I wish I could, I guess behavior's being more receptive than usual. I would love to ask to see like why that's not viable. Why do they not like that? Because it's not the same as like the give up on hook thing, because the give up on hook thing you can do right away, even if you're in no danger. That's why that's unhealthy. I don't know why the give up on the floor thing is bad if you just make it that there's a timer until you can do it. I don't know. Either way, there's not realistically a whole lot of news on this so far. So I think what they're probably realistically doing, like I said, is just waiting to see how the surrender thing works and then adjust it as needed. And now for the big thing, the reason you are all probably here, that being the quote unquote anti-tunneling changes. And this is the one that everybody is really afraid of, and everybody is dooming and glooming. Everywhere I go on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, anybody who brings up phase 2 who's a killer main is just lamenting the incoming peril that we are all in for the latter half of the year. And I just, truthfully, to be honest, we really have no idea what they're going to do right now. So panicking about something that's coming like at the very like the fastest, like 4 months down the line, there's no specifics. So like, what are we worrying about if we have nothing like concrete to worry about yet? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But Brant, behavior hates killers. Clearly they're nerfing us into the dirt, and they're gonna make us quit the game. They just want us to suffer. It's all about the survivor experience. I know. I've been on YouTube in the DBD community for more than 2 seconds. I know that's what's coming. Somebody's probably already halfway through writing it. Just pause the comment for a second. It's okay. For that, I'm going to return back to a previously removed quote unquote killer mechanic that really hasn't affected gameplay too much, despite being overall healthy for the game, and that overall being the anti-camp mechanic. Anti-camp mechanic was implemented because you used to literally just be able to like stand in front of the hook, and the survivors literally couldn't do anything. Keep in mind, hook grabs used to be in this game as well. Those are no longer here, but you could literally just stand in front of the hook and just force trades, or worse, if you're playing somebody who can insta down like Hillbilly or Bubba, you could literally just just entirely capitalize on it from quite literally doing nothing. Standing in front of the hook and doing nothing besides getting the first down could landslide you into a 2 or 3K fairly often in this game, and would often be worse when people play it altruistically. And this is even like limited to people who had exposed down abilities. It even expanded to people like Huntress and Trickster, who were just kind of like naturally really good campers because of their ranged abilities. So to counter this, Behavior made it that if you stand too close to the hook, slowly over time a meter builds up, and then you can unhook yourself if you stood there for too long in front of the hook. Now keep in mind, this change came to us late 2023. It was like the winter of 2023, I believe. It was like the tail end of 2023. And since 2023, here at the beginning of 2025, I can count the amount of times I have triggered this non-intentionally on a single hand. There have been times I've triggered it on purpose for the sake of memes, or it's just beneficial for the gameplay flow at that moment for me to try and add more pressure to the match. But triggered it against my will? Less than a handful. Now, I've been in this DBD community for a very, very long time. Started playing all the way back in early 2020. I've gotten to know, especially the killer main side of things, fairly well. And I know some of you kind of just, regardless of the way this was implemented, see it as a black mark in behavior's history of how much this further proves the anti-killer bias and how much they're out to get you, and you'll never forget it. But for most of us, I think the change ended up being okay. Like, it does the right thing in that it hurts people who are trying to use it maliciously to capitalize with no skill, no expression input to try and cheese games to make a miserable experience for other people. But the people that used camping beneficially in a healthy way, camping's still around. I proxy camp all the time. I camp all the time. As long as you're not like sitting there for the entire bar fill up so they can get off the hook, you can still utilize proxy camping and camping like usual. It just only affected the people who were like, me just stand in front of hook with Bubba and win games for free. Those are the only people that got affected. For everybody else, it's basically just fine. So what is my point, since you're rambling so much, Mr. YouTuber? We were in a situation dooming and glooming about anti-camp when it first got announced as well. It's hard to put yourself in their shoes, especially if you had not played back then, but a lot of people were kind of having similar sentiments of freaking out and panicking and all that wonderful stuff when this was a thing that was oncoming into the game. So we could very likely be in the exact same situation with these changes that are coming in phase 2, that we're kind of really panicking for nothing, and it ends up being okay at the end of the day. Now, that being said, they could absolutely decide to kneecap tunneling and make the role far more stressful and frustrating. They could absolutely do that. It's not irrational to have that thought of, that's kind of weird, that's kind of scary. I hope it doesn't end up going a certain way, but we also don't know that it's going to be bad. So to kind of like be like, behavior hates us and blah blah blah, I don't know. I just don't get it. I just think that, if I'm trying to make a point here, I think that if you're in your feelings about anti-tunnel changes coming and are really frustrated or really depressed about it, it could go the way of the anti-camp mechanic, which could actually be pretty all right and not really affect you and be fine. So I would, just for the sake of your own mental health, not get too bent out of shape about this until we have more specifics about it. Speaking of the anti-camp mechanic, it's being updated again. It's also on phase 2 in terms of their docket, the things they want to change, which is weird because, like I said, I think they did a pretty good job with the anti-camp mechanic. So I don't quite know what they're going to go back and change about it. The only thing I can honestly think of is that ranged killers do kind of circumvent the anti-camp mechanic, because if you have a character like Huntress who can just like sit outside the anti-camp range and just throw hatchets into that range and just camp for free, yeah, it kind of just defeats the purpose of the mechanic because they can just get around it. So my only thing is like, maybe they're trying to make some sort of exception or addition to the rule that like, hey, ranged killers have to deal with this. They can't do that. Although I feel like that's like such a, it's a relatively minor change, right? Like, why would you put that on this big update sheet of things that you're doing if it's not a big change? Or maybe it's not. Maybe they are really trying to lean into like the good PR of like, hey, we're health patching everything. Haha. I don't know why they're Mickey, but maybe they're really trying to gloat about all the health changes they're making. So they added literally everything to this. But I don't know. It's nearly perfect. So I don't know what they do. Do you guys have any idea what they're going to potentially do to anti-camp? It really does seem near perfect, so I don't know what they would further do. And honestly, if you're just going to say like, well, they're going to make camping illegal and they're going to hunt me down if I camp, that's not constructive. I don't want to hear that. Anywho, I think that's going to be it for this video, but it's time to have it out in the comments like we always do. Do you think behavior is coming for killer mains with the phase 2 of the health updates this year? Or are you more with me where you're like, I think I need to hear more specifics. I'm going to hold out on making any sort of firm attachments or emotions to this situation until I hear more. Let me know down in the comments below. Hopefully I made your day a little bit better with this silly, zany, yappy video. If I didn't have the chance to make your day better this time, I'll try to do it again in the next video. But if I don't see you there, well, you know what I always say. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye. It looked like I'm gonna go open a tauntaun on Hoth. I thought they smelled bad. On the outside.